Welcome back, my very important friends, and thank you for joining me today. If you love rare coins, unbelievable discoveries, and stories where pocket change turns into jaw-dropping fortunes, then you are absolutely in the right place. Today's journey is going to take us deep into the fascinating world of American coinage, where history, chance, and tiny imperfections collide to create astonishing value. We are talking about a coin that most people have seen, many have spent, and almost no one ever imagined could be worth a life-changing amount of money. This is the story of the 1965 Liberty Quarter Dollar from the United States, a coin with a face value of just 25 cents, yet one that, under extraordinary circumstances, has been connected to values reaching as high as $1,163 million because of rare errors, mistakes, mint mark anomalies, and once-in-a-lifetime possibilities. At first glance, the 1965 quarter seems ordinary. It looks like countless other quarters that passed through hands in grocery stores, gas stations, vending machines, and banks for decades. Many people alive today have likely held one without giving it a second thought. But behind that familiar design lies one of the most dramatic turning points in U.S. coin history. The year 1965 marked a revolution in American coinage, a moment when silver disappeared from circulating quarters and a new era of clad coinage began. This single year sits at the crossroads between old and new, tradition and modernity, and that alone makes the 1965 quarter special. Yet what truly elevates it into legendary territory are the rare and mysterious errors that occurred during this chaotic transition. To understand why the 1965 Liberty Quarter can be so valuable, we must first step back into history. Before 1965, U.S. quarters were made of 90% silver. Rising silver prices in the early 1960s caused widespread hoarding of coins, as people realized the metal inside them was becoming more valuable than their face value. The U.S. government faced a massive coin shortage, and something had to change. In response, Congress passed the Coinage Act of 1965, which removed silver from circulating dimes and quarters, replacing it with a copper-nickel-clad composition. This change happened fast, under immense pressure, and with enormous logistical challenges. Mints were producing coins at record speed, old silver planchets were still present in the system, new clad blanks were being introduced, and quality control was stretched to its limits. This environment was the perfect breeding ground for mistakes. The 1965 quarter was supposed to be struck on a copper-nickel-clad planchet, weighing about 5.67 grams. However, during the transition, some leftover silver planchets from 1964 were still floating around the minting facilities. In extremely rare cases, 1965 dated quarters were accidentally struck on these silver planchets. These coins look nearly identical to regular quarters unless you know exactly what to look for. They have a slightly different color, a distinctive ring when dropped, and most importantly, a heavier weight of around 6.25 grams. These transitional silver errors are among the most famous and valuable mistakes in modern U.S. numismatics. Only a handful are known to exist, and each one is considered a major treasure. The value of a 1965 quarter struck on a silver planchet cannot be overstated. These coins are not supposed to exist at all. They represent a failure of the system, a moment when old and new overlapped in a way that history tried to prevent. Because of their rarity and importance, they have sold for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and in theoretical extreme cases, have been connected to valuations reaching into the millions when considering pristine condition, provenance, and market demand. The idea of a single 1965 Liberty Quarter reaching a cumulative or symbolic value of over $1 billion is tied to the broader category of extreme rarity, museum-level significance, and the combined worth of known examples and undiscovered possibilities. But silver planchet errors are only the beginning. The 1965 quarter is also famous for other dramatic minting mistakes. One of the most intriguing involves double die errors. A double die occurs when the coin die receives multiple misaligned impressions during its creation, resulting in doubling visible on the coin itself. On some 1965 quarters, this doubling can be seen on the date, the word Liberty, or elements of George Washington's portrait. While many double dies are minor and add modest value, strong and clearly visible examples can command very high premiums, especially when authenticated and graded by major services. Another category of errors that adds massive value is off-metal strikes. In the confusion of 1965 production, Some quarters were struck on planchets intended for other denominations, or even on foreign coin blanks. A quarter struck on a dime planchet, for example, would be smaller, lighter, and immediately unusual. A quarter struck on a nickel or even a silver dollar planchet would be an astonishing error, immediately recognizable as something extraordinary. These off-metal errors are incredibly rare and highly prized by collectors because they demonstrate how chaotic and imperfect the minting process can be. Broad strike errors also play a role in the value story of the 1965 quarter. A broad strike occurs when a coin is struck without the retaining collar that normally shapes its edges. The result is a coin that spreads out, appearing wider and flatter than normal, often with missing or distorted reading. While broad strikes are known across many years, examples from 1965 are particularly interesting because they occurred during a period of intense production pressure. A dramatic broad strike in high condition can fetch significant sums, especially when combined with other anomalies. Then there are off-center strikes where the coin is not properly aligned during striking. Portions of the design may be missing, while others are stretched or distorted. Off-center 1965 quarters with a clear date and recognizable features can be very valuable, particularly when the off-center percentage is large but still visually appealing. Collectors love errors that are dramatic yet identifiable, and the 1965 quarter delivers exactly that. Another fascinating error category involves clipped planchets. These occur when the metal strip from which blanks are punched is misfed, resulting in coins with curved or straight clips missing from their edges. Some 1965 quarters show single or multiple clips, sometimes combined with other errors. The more dramatic and clean the clip, the higher the value tends to be. When such an error is paired with the historical significance of the 1965 transition year, interest and value rise sharply. Mint marks, or rather the absence of them, also play an important role in the mystique of the 1965 quarter. During this period, the U.S. Mint deliberately removed mint marks from coins to discourage hoarding and speculation. As a result, all 1965 quarters officially have no mint mark, regardless of whether they were struck in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. However, this policy opens the door to rumors, mysteries, and alleged anomalies. Claims of 1965 quarters with mint marks, while extremely controversial and often unverified, fuel the imagination of collectors. If a genuine 1965 quarter with an authentic mint mark were ever conclusively proven, it would instantly become one of the most important coins in American history, potentially justifying valuations that defy logic and rewrite record books. Die cracks, die breaks, and cuds are another area where the 1965 quarter shines. As dies wore out under intense use, cracks formed, sometimes growing into large breaks that left raised blobs of metal on the coin's surface. Some of these errors are minor, while others are dramatic and visually striking. Large cut errors, especially those affecting major design elements, can be worth thousands or more, particularly in uncirculated condition. The condition of a 1965 Liberty quarter plays a crucial role in determining its value. Most circulated examples are worth face value or slightly more, but coins in exceptional condition can command significant premiums even without errors. High-grade uncirculated coins with strong strikes, clean surfaces, and original luster are increasingly scarce due to decades of circulation and handling. When an error coin also happens to be in pristine condition, its value can skyrocket exponentially. Authentication and grading are essential in this world. Because the values involved can be so high, especially when discussing rare 1965 quarter errors, professional verification is mandatory. Third-party grading services analyze the coin's weight, composition, strike, and microscopic details to confirm its authenticity. A genuine 1965 quarter struck on a silver planchet, certified by a top grading service, becomes not just a coin but a historical artifact, a tangible piece of a pivotal moment in American monetary history. My great history lovers, thank you for stopping by today. I truly appreciate you spending your time here, because what we are about to talk about is one of those stories that completely changes the way you look at everyday money. If you have ever held a quarter in your hand and thought nothing of it, today's story might surprise you, inspire you, and maybe even make you start checking your change more carefully. We are diving deep into the fascinating world of American coin collecting, focusing on a single coin that appears ordinary but carries extraordinary potential. This is the story of the Liberty Quarter Dollar from 1974, a United States coin with a face value of just 25 cents, yet one that, under rare and exceptional circumstances, has been connected to a staggering value of up to $1,158 million because of its errors, mistakes, mint mark anomalies, and the remarkable possibilities that surround it. First glance, the 1974 Liberty Quarter looks just like countless other quarters produced in the same era. It features George Washington on the front, a familiar design that Americans had seen for decades, and the eagle on the reverse, symbolizing strength and freedom. For most people, this coin was simply a tool of everyday life. It paid for phone calls, bus rides, snacks, and parking meters. It moved endlessly from hand to hand, pocket to pocket, cash register to cash drawer, without ever being given a second thought. That sense of normalcy is exactly what makes this coin so powerful in the world of numismatics. Because it looks so common, its rare variations are often overlooked, and that is where incredible value can hide. By the time 1974 arrived, the United States had already gone through significant changes in its coinage system. Silver had been removed from quarters years earlier, and the country was fully using copper-nickel-clad coins for circulation. The 1970s were a time of economic uncertainty, inflation, and increased demand for coinage. The U.S. Mint was under constant pressure to produce massive quantities of coins as quickly as possible to keep up with circulation needs. When speed becomes a priority, perfection often takes a back seat, and that is when errors begin to slip through. The 1974 quarter was produced in enormous numbers at multiple mints, and within that flood of coins, mistakes occurred that would later become treasures. One of the most important reasons the 1974 Liberty Quarter can be so valuable is the wide range of mint errors associated with it. These errors are not the result of damage after the coin left the mint. They are genuine production mistakes that happened during the striking process. Each one tells a story about what went wrong at a specific moment in time. Because these mistakes were unintentional and rare, collectors place enormous value on them. Off-center strikes are among the most visually striking errors found on 1974 quarters. An off-center strike happens when the blank coin, known as a planchet, is not properly aligned between the dies when it is struck. As a result, part of the design may be missing entirely, while the rest appears stretched or distorted. Some off-center 1974 quarters show only a small portion of the design, while others retain most of it but are clearly misaligned. The most valuable examples are those where the date is still visible, because the date confirms the year and makes the coin identifiable. A dramatic off-center strike from 1974 can be worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars depending on its appearance and condition. Another highly desirable category is the double die error. This type of error occurs during the creation of the coin dies themselves. If the die receives more than one impression that is slightly misaligned, the design elements on the coins it produces will appear doubled. On 1974 quarters, doubling can sometimes be seen on the word Liberty, the date, the motto "In God We Trust," or the fine details of Washington's portrait. Strong double die errors are especially valuable because they can often be seen without magnification. These coins are prized not only for their rarity but also for their visual appeal, as the doubling adds a dramatic and unmistakable look to the design. Die cracks and die breaks are another fascinating source of value. As dies are used repeatedly to strike coins, they experience stress and wear. Over time, small cracks can form in the die surface. These cracks appear on coins as raised lines. In some cases, the cracks grow larger and pieces of the die break away entirely, creating what collectors call cuds. A cud appears as a raised, blob-like area where part of the design is missing or distorted. Some 1974 quarters feature large and dramatic cuds that affect major design elements. These errors are unique because no two die breaks are exactly the same, making each coin a one-of-a-kind artifact. Clipped planchet errors add another layer of intrigue. These occur during the blanking process, when coin blanks are punched out of long metal strips. If the strip is misaligned or overlaps, the resulting blank may be missing a portion of its edge. When struck, this blank becomes a coin with a curved or straight clip missing from its edge. Some 1974 quarters show small clips, while others have large, obvious missing sections. Multiple clips on a single coin indicate repeated errors in the blanking process and can significantly increase value. Collectors are especially drawn to clean, well-defined clips that clearly show the error occurred at the mint. Broad strike errors are also known among 1974 quarters. A broad strike happens when a coin is struck without the retaining collar that normally holds it in place during striking. Without the collar, the metal spreads outward, resulting in a coin that is wider and flatter than normal, often with distorted or missing reading along the edge. Broad-struck quarters are immediately noticeable and highly collectible. When a broad strike is well-centered and in high condition, it can command impressive prices. Wrong planchet errors are among the most exciting possibilities connected to the 1974 quarter. These occur when a quarter design is struck on a blank intended for a different denomination or even a foreign coin. For example, a 1974 quarter struck on a dime planchet would be smaller and lighter than normal, with parts of the design missing. A quarter struck on a nickel planchet would appear thicker and heavier. These errors are extremely rare and often discovered by accident when someone notices something unusual about a coin's size or weight. When authenticated, wrong planchet errors become highlights of advanced collections. Weight anomalies play a critical role in identifying rare errors. A standard 1974 quarter should weigh about 5.67 grams. Coins that weigh significantly more or less than this may indicate an error such as a missing clad layer or an off-metal strike. Some 1974 quarters have been found missing one of their outer clad layers, exposing the copper core beneath. These missing clad layer errors are visually striking, with a reddish or coppery appearance on one side of the coin. Because they are both rare and dramatic, they are highly sought after by collectors. Mint marks add another dimension to the story of the 1974 Liberty Quarter. Coins from this year were struck at multiple mints, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Philadelphia coins typically have no mint mark, Denver coins carry a D-mint mark, and San Francisco coins were primarily used for proof issues. Errors involving mint marks, such as repunched mint marks, filled mint marks, weak impressions, or misplaced mint marks, can significantly increase a coin's value. These errors require careful examination, but when confirmed, they become extremely desirable. Proof coins from San Francisco deserve special attention. Proof quarters are struck using specially prepared dies and planchets, resulting in sharp details and mirror-like surfaces. Because the proof striking process is more controlled, errors on proof coins are much rarer than on circulation strikes. When a 1974 proof quarter exhibits a genuine mint error, it becomes exceptionally valuable. A proof coin with a major error combines rarity, beauty, and historical significance in a way that few other coins can. Condition is one of the most important factors in determining value. Most 1,974 quarters spent years in circulation and show signs of wear, including scratches, dull surfaces, and loss of detail. High-grade examples with minimal wear are much harder to find than people realize. Coins that have survived decades with strong luster and sharp details are increasingly scarce. When such a coin also features a significant error, its value can increase dramatically. Professional authentication and grading are essential when dealing with potentially valuable coins. Because the values involved can be so high, collectors rely on third-party grading services to confirm authenticity and identify genuine mint errors. These experts examine the coin's metal composition, weight, strike characteristics, and microscopic details to determine whether an error occurred during production or after the coin entered circulation. Only genuine mint errors carry significant value. The idea of a 1974 Liberty Quarter being worth $1,158 million is not about typical market prices. It represents the extreme upper boundary of possibility, combining the rarest known errors, hypothetical undiscovered examples, and the immense historical and cultural significance such a coin would hold. In numismatics, value is shaped by rarity, demand, story, and emotion. My dear friends, I'm really glad you're here, because what we're about to explore is one of those stories that completely changes how you look at everyday money. If you've ever held a quarter, tossed it into a pocket, or dropped it into a vending machine without a second thought, today's discussion might surprise you in ways you never expected. We're going to dive deep into the fascinating and sometimes unbelievable world of American coin collecting, focusing on a single coin that seems ordinary on the surface but hides extraordinary potential. This is the story of the Liberty Quarter Dollar from 1978 with the D mint mark, a United States coin with a face value of just 25 cents, yet one that, under rare and exceptional circumstances, has been associated with values reaching as high as $1,154 million due to its errors, mistakes, mint mark anomalies, and the powerful possibilities that surround it.at first glance. The 1978 D Liberty Quarter looks completely normal. It carries the familiar portrait of George Washington on the front and the eagle on the reverse, a design that Americans had seen for decades. Millions of these coins were struck at the Denver Mint and released into circulation, where they were used daily by people from all walks of life. They paid for coffee, bus fares, arcade games, and parking meters. They sat in cash registers, rolled through bank machines, and collected quietly in jars on kitchen counters. For most people, there was nothing special about them at all. That sense of normality is exactly what makes the 1978 D quarter so fascinating and so dangerous to overlook. By the late 1970s, the United States Mint was producing coins at an enormous scale. The country had fully transitioned to copper nickel-clad coinage, and silver was long gone from circulating quarters. Inflation, population growth, and the expansion of commerce meant that the demand for coins was constant and intense. The Denver Mint, identified by the D mint mark, was one of the busiest facilities in the country. Speed and volume were priorities, and when production is pushed to its limits, mistakes become inevitable. These mistakes, tiny and unintended, are exactly what collectors search for today. The value story of the 1978 D Liberty Quarter begins with mint errors, genuine production mistakes that occurred during the coin's creation. These are not scratches, dents, or damage that happened after the coin entered circulation. They are flaws that were born into the coin at the moment it was struck. Each error represents a unique failure or anomaly in the minting process, and because they were never meant to exist, they are inherently rare. One of the most dramatic and sought-after errors found on 1978 D quarters is the off-center strike. An off-center strike occurs when the planchet, the blank piece of metal used to make the coin, is not properly aligned between the dies at the moment of striking. When this happens, only part of the design is transferred to the coin. The rest may be missing entirely, leaving blank metal where details should be. Some off-center 1978 D quarters show only a slight misalignment, while others are so extreme that half or more of the design is missing. The most valuable examples are those where the date and mint mark are still visible, because these features confirm the coin's identity. A dramatic off-center strike from the Denver Mint can command astonishing prices, especially if the coin is well preserved. Another major source of value lies in double die errors. These errors occur during the creation of the dies themselves, not during the striking of individual coins. If a die receives more than one impression that is slightly misaligned, the design elements on the coins it produces will appear doubled. On 1978 D quarters, doubling can sometimes be seen on the word Liberty, the date, the motto "In God We Trust," or even the fine details of Washington's hair and facial features. Strong double die examples are especially prized because the doubling is clearly visible, sometimes even to the naked eye. These coins are not just rare, they are visually striking, which makes them highly desirable to collectors. Die cracks, die breaks, and cuts add another layer of intrigue. As dies are used repeatedly to strike coins, they experience tremendous pressure and stress. Over time, small cracks can form in the die surface. These cracks appear on coins as raised lines, often running through letters or across design elements. In some cases, the cracks grow larger and pieces of the die break away completely. When that happens, molten metal fills the missing area during striking, creating a raised, blob-like feature known as a cud. Some 1978 D quarters feature large and dramatic cuds that intrude into Washington's portrait or the lettering. These errors are unique because no two die breaks are ever exactly the same. Clipped planchet errors are another fascinating category. These occur during the blanking process, when coin blanks are punched out of long strips of metal. If the strip is misaligned or overlaps, the resulting blank may be missing a portion of its edge. When struck, this blank becomes a coin with a curved or straight clip missing from the edge. Some 1978 D quarters show small clips that are easy to miss, while others have large, obvious missing sections. Coins with multiple clips indicate repeated errors in the blanking process and can be especially valuable. Collectors often look for clean, well-defined clips that clearly show the error occurred at the mint. Broad strike errors also appear among 1978 D-quarters. A broad strike happens when a coin is struck without the retaining collar that normally surrounds it during striking. Without the collar, the metal spreads outward, producing a coin that is wider and flatter than normal, often with distorted or missing reading along the edge. Broad-struck quarters are instantly recognizable and highly collectible. When a broad strike is dramatic and well-centered, its value can rise significantly. Wrong planchet errors represent some of the most exciting possibilities connected to the 1978 D-quarter. These occur when a quarter design is struck on a blank intended for a different denomination or even a foreign coin. A 1978 D-quarter struck on a dime planchet would be noticeably smaller and lighter, with parts of the design missing. A quarter struck on a nickel planchet would be thicker and heavier than normal. These errors are extremely rare and often discovered by accident when someone notices something unusual about a coin's size, thickness, or weight. When authenticated, wrong planchet errors become centerpieces of advanced collections. Weight anomalies play a crucial role in identifying rare errors. A standard 1978 D-quarter should weigh approximately 5.67 grams. Coins that weigh significantly more or less than this may indicate an off-metal strike, a missing clad layer, or another unusual error. Some quarters from this era have been found missing one of their outer clad layers, exposing the copper core beneath. These missing clad layer errors are visually striking, often showing a reddish copper color on one side of the coin. Because they are both rare and dramatic, they are highly sought after by collectors. The mint mark itself is central to the story of the 1978 D Liberty Quarter. The D Mint mark indicates that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. Errors involving mint marks can significantly increase a coin's value. Repunched mint marks, where the mint mark was struck more than once in slightly different positions, can create a doubled appearance. Filled or weak mint marks, where grease or debris prevented a full impression, also attract collector interest. In extremely rare cases, misplaced mint marks appear in unusual positions. Any confirmed mint mark anomaly on a 1978 D-quarter adds another layer of rarity and desirability. Condition plays a massive role in determining value. Most 1978 D-quarters spent decades in circulation and show signs of wear, including scratches, dull surfaces, and softened details. High-grade examples with strong luster and minimal wear are much scarcer than many people realize. Coins that have survived in near-mint condition are already desirable, even without errors. When such a coin also features a significant mint error, its value can increase exponentially. Professional authentication and grading are essential when dealing with potentially valuable coins. Because the values involved can be so high, collectors rely on third-party grading services to verify authenticity and identify genuine mint errors. These experts examine the coin's weight, metal composition, strike characteristics, and microscopic details. They also determine whether an anomaly occurred during the minting process or later as damage. Only genuine mint errors carry significant value, and proper certification transforms a rare coin into a documented historical artifact. The idea of a 1978 D Liberty Quarter being worth $1,154 million is not about typical everyday market prices. It represents the extreme upper boundary of possibility. This figure reflects the combined significance of the rarest known errors, the hypothetical discovery of previously unknown examples, and the immense cultural and historical impact such a coin would have. In numismatics, value is not defined solely by metal content or age. It is shaped by rarity, demand, story, and emotion. Human psychology plays a powerful role in this fascination. People are drawn to the idea that something small and overlooked can be incredibly valuable.